Principal Harold Grayson prided himself on running one of the most prestigious private schools in the city. With its state-of-the-art facilities, top-tier faculty, and a student body filled with the children of the elite, Grayson Academy was the epitome of excellence. But beneath its polished surface, the school was also a place where power and privilege often overshadowed fairness. One Monday morning, Principal Grayson sat in his office, reviewing a disciplinary report. The student in question was 12-year-old Ethan Carter, a quiet boy who had been involved in a fight with another student, Bradley Thompson. Bradley was the son of a wealthy donor, and his parents had already called to express their displeasure. Ethan, on the other hand, was the son of a single mother, Claire Carter, who worked 2 jobs to afford his tuition. She had no connections, no influence, and no way to fight back if things went south. To Principal Grayson, the decision was clear. Claire Carter sat across from Principal Grayson, her hands trembling as she clutched her purse. She'd been called to the school after Ethan's fight, and now she was being told her son was being expelled. "I'm sorry, Ms. Carter," Principal Grayson said, his tone cold and dismissive. "We have a zero-tolerance policy for violence. Ethan's actions are unacceptable, and we cannot allow him to remain at Grayson Academy." Claire's eyes filled with tears. "But Principal Grayson, Ethan isn't a violent child. He's never been in trouble before. There has to be more to the story." Principal Grayson shook his head. "The facts are clear. Ethan attacked Bradley unprovoked. I'm afraid my decision is final." Claire's heart sank. She knew Ethan wasn't perfect, but he was a good kid. He had told her that Bradley had been bullying him for months, calling him names and pushing him around. Ethan had finally snapped, but Claire knew her son wasn't the instigator. "Please," she begged, "give him another chance. He loves this school. He's worked so hard." Principal Grayson stood, signaling the end of the meeting. "I'm sorry, Ms. Carter. Ethan will need to leave by the end of the day." The next morning, Principal Grayson arrived at school, his mind already focused on the day's tasks. But as he stepped out of his car, he heard a loud whirring sound overhead. He looked up to see a sleek black helicopter descending onto the school's football field. Students and teachers gathered to watch as the helicopter landed, its blades slowing to a stop. The door opened, and out stepped a man in an impeccably tailored suit. He was tall, with sharp features and an air of authority that commanded attention. Principal Grayson hurried over, his heart racing. "Can I help you, sir?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. The man turned to him, his eyes cold and piercing. "I'm Alexander Carter. I believe you expelled my son yesterday." Principal Grayson's blood ran cold. Your son?" Alexander nodded. "Ethan Carter, my son." Principal Grayson's mind raced. Claire Carter had never mentioned Ethan's father. How could this be? I had no idea," Principal Grayson stammered. "Ms. Carter never mentioned—" "Ms. Carter is my ex-wife," Alexander interrupted, "and I've been absent from Ethan's life for far too long, but that changes today." Alexander Carter was a billionaire tech mogul, known for his ruthless business tactics and his vast fortune. He had built his empire from the ground up, but his success had come at a cost: his family. He had been estranged from Claire and Ethan for years, but when he learned about Ethan's expulsion, something inside him snapped. Alexander followed Principal Grayson to his office, his presence filling the room with tension. He sat down, his eyes never leaving the principal's face. "Tell me," Alexander said, his voice calm but dangerous, "why was my son expelled?" Principal Grayson swallowed hard. "There was an incident, a fight. Ethan attacked another student unprovoked." Alexander raised an eyebrow. "Unprovoked? Are you sure about that?" Principal Grayson hesitated. "Well, the other students' parents are very influential. They insisted—" "So you expelled my son to please a donor?" Alexander interrupted, his voice rising. "Without even investigating the situation?" Principal Grayson's face turned pale. I didn't realize—" "You didn't realize Ethan was my son?" Alexander said, his tone icy. "And that's the problem. You judged him based on his mother's circumstances, not his own actions. That's not just unfair, it's disgraceful." Alexander stood, his presence commanding the room. "Here's what's going to happen. Ethan will be reinstated immediately. You will investigate the bullying he's endured, and you will take appropriate action. And if I hear even a whisper of favoritism or injustice at this school again, I will personally ensure that Grayson Academy ceases to exist. Do I make myself clear?" Principal Grayson nodded, his hands trembling. "Yes, Mr. Carter, absolutely." Alexander turned to leave but paused at the door. "One more thing. From now on, Ethan's tuition will be paid by me, and I'll be keeping a close eye on this school. Don't disappoint me." The next day, Ethan returned to school, his head held high. The students who had once mocked him now looked at him with a mix of awe and fear. Bradley Thompson, the boy who had bullied him, was nowhere to be seen. Ethan's teachers went out of their way to be kind to him, and Principal Grayson made a point of checking in on him regularly. But Ethan didn't care about the sudden change in attitude. He was just happy to be back at school, learning and growing. Alexander spent the next few weeks getting to know his son. He took Ethan to his office, showed him how the company worked, and even let him sit in on a few meetings. Ethan was fascinated by his father's world, and Alexander was amazed by his son's intelligence and curiosity. One evening, as they sat together in Alexander's penthouse, Ethan turned to him. "Dad," he said, his voice soft, "why did you stay away for so long?" Alexander's heart ached at the question. "I was selfish, Ethan. I thought my work was more important than anything else. But I was wrong. You're the most important thing in my life, and I'm so sorry I missed so much." Ethan smiled, his eyes filled with forgiveness. "It's okay, Dad. You're here now." Alexander pulled his son into a hug, his heart full. "I love you, Ethan, always." With Alexander's support, Ethan thrived at school. He made new friends, excelled in his studies, and even started a club to help other kids who were being bullied. Alexander, inspired by his son's kindness, started a foundation to support underprivileged students, ensuring that no child would ever be treated the way Ethan had been. Principal Grayson, humbled by the experience, worked to create a fairer and more inclusive environment at Grayson Academy. He knew he had been given a second chance, and he was determined to make the most of it. As for Ethan, he had found not just a father but a hero, and together they were building a future filled with hope, love, and endless possibilities.